Okay, so today we're talking about minimum wage. And I can assume that everyone has had a job or has a job and would like to make extra money and without any consequences or anything, changing what they know and how much they make and basically not have to do anything and make more money. Well, the matter of the fact is that it doesn't happen that way. The economy doesn't, there's not really ever any changes without any consequences in the economy. So my main claim today is that continuous increase in the minimum wage has a negative effect on the economy. And the three negative effects that I've decided to look into today are that the increase in minimum wage lowers employment levels, it raises prices, and it creates a negative ripple effect that goes throughout the economy. So going to the lower employment levels, when the minimum wage is raised up past the level of equilibrium, so the minimum wage is actually a price floor that goes up past the equilibrium and kind of it pulls the price up and it decreases the demand for labor. So in this case, we're looking at labor as more of a good than the actual work that it is. So in this case, there's a decrease in available funds for labor when that price floor goes up. And then from that, jobs, because of the lack of payroll money and the lack of profit from the businesses, jobs will be crowded out due to competition and lack of resources. And in other words, there's just the supply the supply will decrease and the demand will decrease. Or the supply will increase in the workforce and the demand for jobs will decrease. So Greydon and Wells, they wrote a textbook that last published in 2013, and that when the minimum wage is above the equilibrium rate, some people who are willing to work, that is to sell labor, cannot find buyers, that is employers, willing to give them both jobs. So there's no, when the rate goes up too high, there's just no room for the jobs, and people lose their jobs because the businesses can't afford the jobs. There's surpluses will be introduced to the economy. And referring back to the text, most cases, when there's a surplus of the good, the government has to step in and help the situation. So that's where a lot of more government help has to come in and basically cost the government more to have a higher minimum wage. And when the supply for jobs goes down, people are, they need to find a job, so a lot of under the table work goes into effect. So that's basically illegal work increases. So for the second negative effect, we go into prices go up. With the government set minimum wage that's too high above the equilibrium, it will pull prices up to that level. So everything in the economy has to adjust itself to get up to that new equilibrium level that's too high. And then once it gets up to that point, prices generally tend to rise up past that equilibrium, the new equilibrium, and then inflation initiates, and then prices actually go up past, and things become more expensive. For the third negative effect, we go to a ripple effect. So it's more or less similar to the second negative effect. It's that once it gets put into motion and that the surpluses and interest rates and prices go up, everything starts to follow that rate and go back towards where it needs to be. And Jared Bernstein, he wrote an article in the New York Times, and that about businesses, they don't get the profits that they need, and that businesses actually tend to lose money, and that's why middle class people that bring in, towards the middle, they'll make less money, and this results from a reduced profit of business owners and slightly increased prices of goods and services, and that's from his article. And so between the raised prices, the employment levels, that goes this decrease in employment levels, the higher prices, and the ripple effect, the higher minimum wage will have a negative effect on the economy.
Well, Greydon, the proposition's clearly identified, and I thought you had an excellent preview of what the supporting structure was like. I'm not exactly sure that you've given us enough reason to believe that there's a controversy going on here. I think you need a little bit more context. I know you're talking about continuing increases in the minimum wage, but I tell you what, this sounds to me that's part of the problem with the issue that you're talking about. It sounds to me like you're giving us a lecture on an economic theory rather than you're making an argument about something that anybody's going to need to deal with in an immediate context or situation. The proposed increases in the minimum wage would be a lot more effective as an illustration of your point rather than talking about this equilibrium theory that you've spent a lot of time on. In fact, two of the quotes that you have come right out of a textbook, so it sounds like I'm getting an econ lecture instead of an argument that says there's a problem with increasing minimum wages. You explained the theory behind that without much demonstration that that theory is accurate or true. So the minimum wage has gone up many times over the years, so where's the data that shows the things that you're talking about have occurred in the past? Where is the research that suggests that the current proposals are likely to produce the outcomes that you're talking about here? I didn't hear any of that kind of information, and so outside of the context of the theory, I think that you aren't doing a very effective job at building the argument. Explaining the principle is okay, but I think you need to show that the principle exists, and otherwise it's just one of those things that people will hear, I'll take note of it, and I don't know how seriously to take it or worry about it. I think you need a lot more information on that. I'm going to chastise you a little bit on the quote from the study that you cited that is more contemporary, because it doesn't sound to me like a quote, it sounds like a paraphrase. This is my interpretation of what this person said in this argument, and that's your inference. The quote should be the direct statement of what the person made, and that is not what you have in your speech on that third point. And so I think you want to be careful about that type of thing. Like I said, there wasn't any statistical information in the presentation, and it's an econ theory. Why don't we get a statistic? I don't even know what's the contemporary equilibrium point. What's the range of increase in prices that we're likely to face? Is there an estimate about how many jobs that we lose for every dollar that we increase the minimum wage or anything like that? I know that there's probably some fluctuation in that because the equilibrium point is going to be different at any given time, but like I said, that's the thing that's going to sell the idea for us. So organizationally, you're in good shape. You explain theories pretty well. The evidence, I think, is a little bit thin to be convincing on this particular point. Thank you.